goes out to 5 agents. So I think the important thing is that they're not going to get all 5 getting in there first. Bob, only 27% of people rang you back in the first hour. That's amazing. Why do you think that is?
Because they're hopeless, most of them. I'll come to that in just a second. So 2 points I'd like to make, and it's valid to what you're just saying. No agent should do anything, one might say, of any expenditure, but particularly around marketing investment, without making decisions based on facts, as opposed to what Nelly the negotiator happened to tell them yesterday, what somebody down the pub or down the virtual pub nowadays said to them once a mate that they played golf with said. And so that's the first thing I say. And the second thing I say is the vast majority of agents, which is your point, Chris, is they don't know these facts. I'm not. Please don't be insulted, those of you that do. You exist, and I'm very pleased that you do. But the vast majority of agents, the very ones I was talking about a minute ago, who wouldn't be in support of regulation of estate agents because they know they wouldn't be able to get their business over the barrier, are also the type that don't make fact-based decisions. I remember when On the Market launched, whenever that was, and I remember the people I worked for then, clearly we weren't part of On the Market, and we did a lot of customer research of what other agents were up to. And a lot of agents had pulled off Zoopla, telling their customers that, their vendors and their landlords, that there was no point being on Zoopla because we don't get any leads from them at all. Yet we know the volume of leads that we were getting from Zoopla. So they were turning their back on a third, at least, of the marketplace in terms of leads at that time. And the other thing we knew, that these were unique leads as well, as opposed to people that had visited both Rightmove and Zoopla.
Well,
So to come back to your point, this was a Calwell mystery shop using Rightmove local valuation alerts in London last summer. We've done various ones since. If anybody wants to know the details of them, they know how to contact me. But we did this particular one that you're talking about, Chris, was done last summer. And yes, we sent 180 something Rightmove local valuation alert requests, all with genuine postcodes, all with genuine, they weren't easily sniffed out as being a mystery shop. And only 28%, I think the number was, contacted us at all. And only about 5 of that 28% contacted us within an hour, or contacted the person within an hour.
So I thought it was within the hour. Sorry, that's even worse.
So your point, and maybe I'll just close up on this, is that anybody making decisions about Rightmove or Zoopla or On the Market or whatever just needs to look at themselves first. They're spending an awful lot of their money each month on the membership to these portals. Probably more money by now than they would be spending on newspapers if the internet hadn't been invented. More to the point, newspaper advertising spend was always flexible up and down almost by the week, whereas portal spend isn't. So it's a big chunk of their investment. But unlike newspapers, they have the ability very accurately to track precisely how much volume they got and precisely what they've done with them. So it may cost more money, but they have the opportunity to be far more thorough in their return and investment calculations, but they simply choose not to be or can't be bothered to find out the truth, find out the facts.
Okay, thank you. Richard, you put your hand up a few minutes ago.
I did. One or two things. Firstly, I don't necessarily think it's all about Rightmove. I think that we've all become far too reliant on portals altogether, all of them really, and we shouldn't have done. And we fell into it, but we did. So I think that we need to look at what we do ourselves. I agree with Heather. You've got to have an alternative strategy. So CCT or AdPhoenix or whatever you've got to do that. Gary, we've been using Rightmove's Opportunity Manager for some time, and we get leads through from Rightmove when people have ticked a certain number of criteria about their activity on Rightmove, and we know that on any particular day they're really, really active, doing something in particular that ticks it over, and that's been that's been quite successful for us. So coupling that with even more data about what people are doing outside Rightmove as well would be really good. And finally, I agree with Charlie. We've got to be much better at filtering the leads that we get. We use a system called Area, so the leads come into us, but they don't go in our CRM now until we've dealt with them and filtered them out. And in actual fact, we are probably going to go another step and actually outsource the filtering of our leads from portals to get somebody else to spend a bit of time working out whether they're any good or not before we even get them. I think that's really important now too.
Isn't it interesting that Andy Solomon, who I believe is an ICG member with Yondell, who does all of the mystery shopping exercises for Peter Knight's Best Agent Guide, said 18 months ago that 52, and remember, every single agent on Rightmove was mystery shopped, and 52% of emails were not even responded to. Isn't it amazing that we complain about that 52? And you say that to any agents, so it's not me. Well, half of you are guilty of that. Gary, you put your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, we can testify to that. We track the stats from it, and it's exactly 50% of all inquiries that come in from all the portals are unprocessed. 25% of them are duplicates, and then the remaining 25% are there. So, I mean, that gives you an idea of kind of what gets through the platform and the level that they're. But 25% are duplicates, and I think that should just be that should be factored into this as well.
Okay, it's still.
You mean the same customer came through same customer came through more than one portal at the same time, or more or less the same time?
Same portal at the same time. So, especially, duplicate leads, yeah.
But remember, this was a mystery shopping exercise, so it wouldn't have been a repeat on that one because it was just Rightmove.
Right, absolutely right.
Okay, but point taken. Even if you've got,
Richard, I'm surprised that you would consider outsourcing what I would think is probably the most important phone call. The first impressions one is the most important one. So have you not also? You said about we've allowed ourselves to become hostages of the portals. My words, not yours. Aren't you finally surrendering if you're now going to let that first call go?
I think to some degree, yes and no. I take Gary's point about duplicates and the absolutely terrible quality of some of what you get. So you've got to filter that out. And I think that absolutely the first call has got to be of a very, very, very high quality. But whether or not it has to be made by me or my people, I'm not completely convinced. So no, I think we can do it very, very well. At the same time as filtering out the ones that are just not worth the bother. We used to import them all directly into Repeat, and then we spend hours and hours deleting them again. So there's no point in doing that. It's just a matter of managing the process a bit better than we do.
Again, it all depends on how good they are, because let's be honest, you've got the people like some Moneypenny when it comes to phone calls. I know they're more inbound, but they're exceptional. I'd like to go to Heather, then Ian.
I was just going to chime in from a sort of consumer perspective, because I was in the process of moving house before lockdown, and I was submitting inquiries through the portals. And my point actually, before I go on to that, with the portals is, the reason the portals exist is because as a consumer, they are very, very convenient to have everything in one place, just be able to search, submit your inquiry. It is convenient. So you do end up doing it. And then, Bob, to come on to your point about, that first call, I must have submitted, 10 to 20 Rightmove inquiries when I was looking. And typically you do it over a weekend or in the evenings. So best case scenario at the moment, you get a phone call back during your working day. And without fail, and I dealt with some very good estate agents, that call was awful. Hi, I'm just calling about this inquiry about, it's this property. Oh, right, okay, well, I submitted a few inquiries. Can you tell me which property it is? It's the one that's da-da-da-da. Can I take some details from you? So at the moment, I think the bar as a consumer, and obviously I'm just using my sample size of 10 to 20, is actually really low in terms of that experience. So actually, if you've got somebody dedicated to it who's an expert in potentially doing that call, maybe you could actually do it a lot better than how it's being done at the moment.
Excellent. Ian and then Ben.
Yeah, I think Bob's point about giving up that initial phone call is very valid, but I believe we've moved into a point in time where that first phone call just isn't getting done, or if it is, it's getting done badly. And I think the cost to move to have the right number of people to deal with it properly is just no longer possible. Therefore, I think what you need is a mixture of technology outsourcing, better software to deliver to your real people that are your experts that are on the ground, the troops that are on the ground floor, the good lead, and let technology and outsourcing deal with the rest until it becomes a good lead. So I'm very much in the camp that, of course, if you can get to every single person, phone them, and have a real rock star employee make that phone call, fabulous. But I just can't see that that's possible. So I think you have to have your rock stars. You have to have a filtering system, and you have to have your rock stars dealing with the right leads, and let the rest be dealt with brilliantly and fabulously and routinely. I mean, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute you deal with anybody badly, but just get it dealt with, in a much more efficient way at the moment. Because at the moment, half of them aren't getting dealt with at all. And in Heather's case, when she did eventually get dealt with, and I think this is indicative, they weren't dealt with very well. So we're not giving up much. If we could get them all dealt with brilliantly, fabulous. But I just can't see us being able to do it, sadly, without outsourcing.
Ben, if you could have the last word on this one before we move to the next topic.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, hopefully all this say no to Rightmove might kick off one thing that I'm happy to say has started to happen in the CRM world. Over to you, Gary, on this particular one. But, this whole lockdown data, Rightmove, you pay a shed load of money, you get little bite sizes of data. Here's their name, their telephone number, and a few little bits and pieces. It's all done through emails. We need people to open up their systems and realize and be confident to realize that an open API, two-way syncing, foundations shout out, and then it allows for things. So if you wanted to use Prospect Engine to do some of your prospecting, and they've got an open API going to them and then back directly into the CRM, it makes a lot of good parties to be able to join up.